Ryan, this piece I know has a really exciting story behind it, and I think it really makes the show, actually ties everything together. Can you talk about how you made this piece? Because I know it has an interesting background.
So the Metropolitan Council for the Arts, MAC, in Greenville, has a little competition they do each year called Flat Out Under Pressure, and that gives artists the chance to make a piece in 24 hours or less and submit it. And so this year I applied and I did this piece here, Cultivational Theory, and I basically, in 24 hours, I had to paint this whole painting. So for me, I did a lot of planning and I started thinking about it, but it also made me make decisions very fast because I didn't have it all planned out. I knew I kind of wanted to have a figure and I wanted to have this kind of weird designed, unique flower plant coming up. And then I added basically the kind of the clippers and the clipped flower, kind of showing that it's like pruning or altering or controlling this weird flower. And then the idea, cultivational theory, is the idea that if you watch too many like murder mysteries or watch too many shows about something or read too much about something bad, that you're going to get the fear that it's going to happen to you, but the actual reality of it is going to be a lot less likely to happen. So this idea is maybe these companies are cultivating this fear or this thought that their company is going to go under, but yet it's still growing and still altering and changing.
Well, and as we did a close-up here on the clippers, it's not what you think it is. And this is that example that you mentioned where if you look a little longer, you see it's not all a rosy picture, so to speak. And I've heard somebody say, oh, that's really beautiful. And then they take another look and they're like, oh, but he's pruning it, or, what does that mean? And again, more is revealed with a closer look, which I find interesting. The other thing I was thinking about is that this is the piece you did in a very short period of time. You're also a teacher, and I wondered, if there was something you could offer to us by, how teaching influences what you do as an artist, and how that relationship to teaching is part of what you do.
Well, for me, what I get the most out of teaching, as I always say to my students, is like, it keeps me honest. Like, so when I talk to my students and I'm like, put a little bit more value or use the full range of value, I have to do that myself in my own work. And it makes me think, oh, am I doing that? Am I doing it? Because I never want to be the teacher that says, do what I say, not what I actually do. So I try to teach from my own experiences, my own way of making art, or trying to give them as many options of way of doing that so that they're not doing what I say, they're doing what I want, or what I might do, and then it also, like I said, keeps me honest. I think to my own artwork and say, am I doing all the things that I'm teaching in my own artwork?
Okay, cool. And then as we move over to this next piece, this is going to be the last one we talk about tonight, this was the piece that was featured in the magazine, I think it was Bold Life, and it's, to me, I wondered if it might be a self-portrait, actually, because I saw another image of you with your hands up online, and so, I thought maybe this is called In the Weeds, I believe, and the weeds aren't actually weeds; they kind of look like tentacles, or maybe he's drowning, or it's a dream. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it is a self-portrait, and I'm the cheapest model, so it's easy to get. And I also, I was using that term "in the weeds" because, if you've ever waited tables, you always hear the term "in the weeds" as being like you're basically so stressed out, or you have too many tables, or you can't get it done. So you're in the weeds in the sense that you can't get out and do what you need to get done. So I was using that term, and then I was also thinking about, since I moved back to the South, of just like lying in the grass or lying in this environment and taking it easy and like taking it in the steps. But then I wanted to contrast that with like being in the weeds. So you're like taking this break, but yet all this kind of imaginary, as you were saying, weeds or grass is like taking over me, and I'm kind of like oozing into it versus like resting or doing the things that I need to get out of the weeds.
Well, I'm glad that I guessed it right, that had a self-portrait aspect to
Yeah.
it. I also like the subtlety of the blue and red on the tie that, you know, merges into, when you blend those colors together, you get purple, so you have a little purple in the inside of the coat. Yeah, and, you know, I really enjoyed hearing what you had to say today. I think our audience will get a lot out of it. The other thing that I did not know till we started talking today is how much work that you've done here, which looks on the surface to be contemporary 2020, 2018 corporate life, but you actually have invested a lot in art history, ancient art history, to get your ideas. And I know your wife is an art historian, so that's possibly maybe where you're also talking a lot about these things. But that really enlightened me a lot, and I like that you have so much thought behind these pieces. So thanks so much for being here today.
Well, for me about art history, I feel like, you know, artists are created a language, and they're basically, you want to be part of that language. You want to be sitting at the big kid table, and if you don't know art history, then you're going to be at the kids' table, because there's so much that has been done beforehand. And so by having that knowledge of art history, you're able to, you know, be at the adult table and have those conversations with those great artists, and not be like, I don't know, you know, doing a piece of a bull and not understanding that Picasso did so many pieces of bulls. Now you can be like, oh my, you know, here's Picasso, here's my version of it, here's how he represented it, here's how I represented myself. And it ties into so much, and that's why I think art history is so important, and art students should be, you know, exposing themselves, learning from it, along with learning composition, and, you know, again, using a great Picasso line, good artists take, great artists steal, and he doesn't mean necessarily copying, but he's like, steal the composition, steal the, you know, the color scheme, steal, you know, the idea, and do your version of it. And I think that's what he really meant with that thing, and that's what I tell my students, and I try to do myself.
Great. Well, thanks again, and please come and visit the gallery and see Ryan's show. And again, thank you for your time today, Ryan.
Thank you.